It didn't count down, but
it didn't count down. We just were right in the top, just over the top.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we're live on Blue Sky. Yes, we are. Wonderful. Hello, Blue Sky people and X people and LinkedIn and YouTube and whatever.
The whole of the internet.
And Ben Schofield said to say hello, and hello, Kelly.
Hello.
Let's, what are we going to do here? We're going to set up a Blue Sky PDS.
Yeah, we are. I published a blog post recently, and we're going to kind of go through it. We're going to have the agent go just basically implement the blog post and kind of show what it looks like and talk through what Miren is and why you might want to do this and all that kind of stuff. So,
all right. What is a PDS first?
Yeah, PDS is a personal data server, I want to say. That sounds right. And the idea is that within the AT protocol, all of your messages, all of your content, all of your data can live in a bunch of different places rather than just inside the centralized service. You can also have it live in servers that you run, and then those servers federate their data back to sort of the app view portion of the whole thing. So that way you can have your data somewhere else, but when people go to Blue Sky, they can still see the data, whether or not it's on a PDS or inside the main Blue Sky silo of data. Does that make sense?
One of us is frozen.
Oh, is it me?
I don't know. From my perspective, it was, but you never know. It always feels like it's everyone else, right? But I heard you.
Am I back now? Okay.
Basically, a way you can own your data, and when you do that, you'll actually even like connect to it with your clients if you want, right? So I could make like, I don't know, something.chadfowler.com, and that could be where all my stuff is, which would make almost no sense because I wouldn't want to invite other people.
Yeah, but you might. Right. Yeah. I mean, but you could just do it for yourself. You could just be, and today we're going to set one up that would just be for me, or for you, or for one person.
Let's set yours up then. Okay. So we're going to do this. Anyone can do this already, right? But
that's right.
But
so
when you want to do it, you have to go like read instructions and go set up servers. And if you're attention deficit, or if you're attention deficient like I am these days, that's going to take you a while and you may never do it. It's one of those things that like I'd like to do that someday, but I don't have time to read the instructions.
As an example, if you pull up my screen here, you'll see like this is the blog post that I wrote all about this, right? And you might look at this and go, this is quite long. And in some ways, this was sort of a proof blog post more than it was a steps to take. You can take these steps, they will work. But what we're actually going to do today is we're not going to take them. We're going to let Claude actually just read the blog post and go do it again. Claude wrote this the first time, you can read it the second time. So that's actually what we're going to do right now.
So originally you pointed Claude at the instructions for how to do it, but then said, I want to do this on Miren.
Yeah, right? The original version of this was I actually, what I said was, I want to run a Blue Sky PDS. Can you go figure out how to do all that? And I went and looked, found the repos and found the docs and all that kind of stuff, and basically just did the thing. And so it was, it was there was a research process that I went through at the beginning in order to just figure out like, okay, what does that mean? And so that took a while. We're not going to do any of that stuff today because it's already done. So
you basically are taking the research already and just applying it again.
That's right.
So now the question is, what is Miren?
Yeah, Miren is a self-hosted deployment system. So you run it wherever you want it. So you could run on your laptop. We're going to be running on a machine on DigitalOcean today. But the idea is that you can own more of how you deploy your software, and therefore you can control it more. So for instance, if you want to be running it on a server inside your house, you can do that. We have a new thing out called Miren Anywhere, which automatically makes those servers available, even if they're behind NAT. And it gives you a lot of flexibility. And one of the things that we love about it is that it gives you, especially now when people are writing all of these different kinds of apps, it gives you a place to sort of just play with deployed apps. So like one of the things that we do is we have we have a server called the Garden server that we just kind of deploy fun internal apps to. And Miren is actually really great for that because you're not having to think about like the per app economics anymore. You can just have a server, you can just deploy whatever you want to it. And that actually is just, it frees up the ability to sort of experiment. When people ask me what I do, and they're not technical, I tend to say like I help people make their dreams come true. And by that I mean like you've got an idea and maybe it's an idea for you that you want to just use for yourself. Maybe it's an idea for you and your friends. Maybe it's an idea for you and the whole world. But you get to this point where it's on your laptop and you're like, I got to figure out what to do with it now. And you have a sort of a bevy of choices about how to do stuff. Sometimes you want to just basically like, I actually don't know if this is anything yet. Maybe I just want to deploy it to my laptop and have it work. We give you that ability. And then when you're like, oh, actually, this is great. I want this now on my laptop. Maybe I just want to go pay $10 for a server. Great. You can do that. And it's the same workflow and you can kind of level up from there. So
it's sort of like if you had the complexity in a good way and the robustness of something like AWS or GCP or Azure, but as a control plane against any computers you want.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly.
And they could be located both in GCP, Azure, AWS, DigitalOcean, or your house, or under your desk at your office.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Miren Anywhere. The Miren Anywhere stuff that we released yesterday is really all about like, hey, I just want to run this on my desk at my office and deploy an app that's for me and the team that I'm on. Great. That's the perfect use case.
Nice. Which I just make that point because there are plenty of places where you can dump your vibe coded garbage, but this is not the same because you actually can scale up and do like a legit system architecture with this.
Absolutely.
Start simple, and as we're going to see, agents know how to deal with it because they wrote this blog post and figured it out for you.
Yeah, we run all kinds of stuff on Miren servers. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I run a whole IRC network on mine. More on that later. So I assert that we're going to spend more time setting this up than we are actually doing it, other than the part where it's just running in the background. You think I'm right?
Maybe. Well,
I'm setting us up for failure, and I'm setting us up.
Well, let's find out. Let me switch over. I'm going to stop my screen here, and I'm going to switch over to a terminal, and then we'll see how this goes.
All right.
So this is just an empty directory. There's nothing here. I have an existing Miren server all set up that we're going to use called Chad PDS. It's all set up, but I don't have it logged in on my local machine. So we're going to basically tell Claude, hey, there's a server that I want to go deploy this to. Go figure out how to get me access to it and all that kind of stuff.
So it's just a raw Linux server with Ubuntu or something running on DigitalOcean.
That's right.
No, nothing else.
It's got Miren installed, and it's attached to my Miren cloud account, which I could show you. We're sort of skipping that part just to not spend a lot of time on it. But
so the quick version is like a bash script and then running Miren login, and then you're probably done, right?
To set up the server.
Yeah,
you run Miren server install and then it's done. That's exactly right. Yeah, there's not really anything else to it. Yeah. So let's give it a shot. So we're doing this fully live. So go read and set up a PDS on the Miren cluster named Chad PDS. Now we wait. I'll go read the blog post first. So Chad, why don't while this runs, we can kind of come back to it as it pops through. Excuse me, I'm opening a ginger ale. What's your interest in Bluesky in AT the atmosphere, as they say?
Yeah. By the way, I went to Atmosphere Conf this year and I asked a room full of nerds, how do you pronounce it? It's at protocol, which makes sense. It's the at sign, right? I was calling it AT.
You know why we call it AT though?
Because it's in all caps.
And we're old and we think of the old AT protocol, either the AT IBM standard, this would be, or the AT codes that the modems use. Anyway, that's where my brain goes.
That's what I was thinking, modem codes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, why am I interested in this? One, I love social media, and I've loved it since the beginning of Twitter in 2007 when I first joined, and it was like a thing you would send SMSs and kept you in touch with your friends all over the world.
Yeah.
I don't love Twitter anymore for obvious reasons. And in general, I think that social media has been a net negative on humanity, but I still miss the functionality of something like that. I miss the togetherness that like the first version of Facebook I was able to join brought me like closer to my high school friends I hadn't seen in decades. And I miss having a global town square where I can talk. So I don't have to miss that anymore. I just have to join a platform that is more humane. And that's what App Protocol gives us. It gives us a platform that both is not riddled with algorithms that are trying to destroy us, that are running incentives that are anti-human and pro-capitalism, extractive and monopolistic. In fact, there's no advertising. In Bluesky, which is the default commercial implementation, App Protocol itself is an open protocol. We can run our own PDS. We can completely separate from that network if we want, if they do something we don't like. So far, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about Bluesky, though, as a team. Yeah, there are examples like Black Sky Algorithms. Rudy, who runs that, has an entire sort of like forked, thriving social network that initially was for the Black community. It's not limited to the Black community. That's why it's called Black Sky. But I think App Protocol is one of the first ecosystems that give me some actual hope that like a consumer quality, non-extractive ecosystem can be created and thrive. And we're going to Atmosphere Conf this year. I was very excited about this as well because I saw that community. It felt like all the best early software communities I've been a part of. So have I vamped long enough? That's the reason I'm interested.
No, that was great. Yeah, I mean, so my test environment polluted what and confused Claude. So I'm actually just gonna do it myself, and I can just talk about what we did. So what it was confused because I have multiple different identities inside my Miren cluster because I have my work one and my personal one. And this is on my personal one. You can see there's a whole bunch of that's a big mess of things in here. And so what I did was like I knew where it was, so I'm just gonna cut this out. If you were a first-time user of Miren, you wouldn't have any of these problems because there wouldn't be anything else to discover. I have too many things, and so it's like, you've got all of this stuff. You sure this isn't the stuff you want? And so I'm going to cut it off at the chase here. And so what I did was Miren cluster add, and what it did was it went through it and actually gave me a list of clusters that I have accessible, and that it got that list by looking up on Miren Cloud.
Okay, so we added this server to the existing cluster.
Right. So this server, it's already running. It was already Miren Cloud, which is our sort of coordination service, already knew about it. I just had to teach my local instance that server exists. And that's just an advertisement. Now, whenever my client wants to go talk, it'll actually talk directly to the server. It won't go through Miren Cloud. That's just coordinating the discovery part. So now that it's set up, you can see, again, this big log list. And I said, go ahead and use Chad PDS, and it set it up. And so now I can go back here and I can say, sorry for confusing you. That's on me. I've added the Chad PDS cluster. Now, please go forth and use it.
It's not surprising to me that you are so kind to Claude.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that we have this. There's such a. I was going to ask about the discourse amongst how you talk to your agent. So,
oh man, yeah. I installed this plugin at one point. One of the many cool things that like keeps your context and history for you, and then I realized it was pushing everything that I said to my public Git repos.
Yep.
And that's not a good thing for security reasons, but also it might be sort of embarrassing to see how I talk to Claude at 2 a.m.
I actually love this stuff. And I was Claude and all the agents asking questions is nothing new. But in this particular case, it recognized in the context of the blog, we talked about this before we went online, that like we're actually going to need a domain. And so rather than like totally just falling over itself trying to figure this out, it's like, hey, you're going to need a domain and it's going to need to be set up. I preset it up, but like the idea that it just paused here is like I can't do anything else until you figure this out is a thing that I absolutely love. So
as a reminder, that's really great, and the sort of thing that agents can do for us that stop us from shooting ourselves in the feet or wasting hours. But something that we might have glossed over because I was passionately talking about why I love App Protocol is This server was logged into Miren, which of course gave it the confusion of too much information to parse.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Claude didn't know anything about Miren here, right?
No, not a thing.
So you gave it the blog post. That was it.
I gave it the blog post, and it's figuring out everything from the blog post. In the blog post, it saw that there are some skills that it can use. I don't think it's even activated the skills. Again, in this particular instance, this is sort of a dirty example because I already have the skills installed. But at least I know that it didn't activate the skills that would have said so. So yeah, it's figuring everything out from just reading the blog post. And then one of the things that we thought was really important when we wrote the skills is the ability to work without the skills. And the way that we did that, and you can actually see it early on here, is that so it figured out this Miren who am I from the blog post, but then it also was like, I'm just going to run all the help. And so one of the things that we wanted to be really important about is that our help is really, really good. And it's actually, our skill just says use the help, because that way it doesn't fall out of date. It's exactly right. There's actually, the reason I know it's not using the skill is because the skill tells it to use a subcommand called help. It tells it to use Miren help set instead of the -- help. There's a kind of a reason for that. That actual help is a little bit more verbose. It's easier for the agent to get a little more context, but yeah, it just figured it out from there.
That's a great pattern. The other one that you guys do is you have this separate doc site, Miren.md, clever.
Yeah,
it's hosted in Moldova, I assume.
By a doctor, I presume, also.
Yeah, and all of the URLs are just like some nice slug right after /md.
That's right.
And I know that Claude really loves that too. And not just Claude. We're using Claude the same way that people.
Yeah, it could be anything. That's right.
Coke, you know. But, yeah. I actually talked to one of the agents about Miren at some point, and it was telling me about how great the command thing and the .md thing with the paths are.
Oh, nice.
World-class agent ready setup. So there you have it, everyone.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, one of the reasons that that happens is because the website docs about our commands are driven entirely by the CLI. So all of the help, everything about the commands is actually defined in code. And then there's actually a special flag that you can set called help JSON. And when you run it with the command, it'll output a JSON document that's this giant, huge thing that is all of the help for all the commands and how the commands are structured, what environment variables are used, and all that kind of stuff. And we actually just ingest that and use that to draw and render the actual Miren MD stuff. So it can't really fall out of date. And it also matches exactly what the commands would be. So for instance, mset is going to be miren.md/commands/m-set, right? Because that structure is sort of locked in that way.
Very nice.
So it's already starting. I don't know what the password is going to be on this, nor if we're going to leak the password over the stream, which is always the funniest part of a stream when someone is doing something and they leak a live password. So hopefully we will leak a live password, because that's always a gas.
It's fun. I like it. Yeah. We can probably very quickly draw over it as it's.
Do you think that works?
No, of course not.
Yeah, it's amusing, I will say.
Exactly. We could try. Although you're talking about a password that we don't know and we won't remember.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, okay.
One that presumably, actually, you know what we should have done at the beginning, and I can steer it right now. Hey, we're on a stream, so don't print any passwords. Only write passwords to local files that I will use cat with later. Maybe that'll work. Who knows?
Yeah. The joys of non-deterministic software.
Yeah. I'm not sure why it's trying Miren.team. It doesn't need none of that stuff. So it's confused again.
You should only. I also wonder always, does it know that I've typed all caps, or is that just for me?
We'd have to go look in the tokenizer in order to find out is only lowercase and only all capitals 2 different tokens.
Oh yeah. Good point. right, it's time for some ginger ale.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's removing routes. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's up, but maybe it's destroyed something in the process.
Let's see. It listened to my pleas and didn't write any passwords here, which is nice. Okay, heads up. Let's read this. For your no passwords message, I ran against the garden server and printed out. Oh, okay, super. Well, I'll have to go rotate that on a completely different one. So that's if the stream was live, rotate those on garden. Great. Well, okay, I'll go rotate those. I'm not reprinting them here. Sorry for that. Whatever. Okay, PDS is up on there. Super. It's got the routes. And so
it actually even ran the health endpoint and got JSON back.
It did.
Nice.
Yeah, it did. And so this is nice. I like this. Again, this is one nice thing about having an agent read a blog post in this case is that the blog post was slightly out of date because it's moved to TypeScript instead of .js, which I'll go update the blog post now to indicate that, right? Wildcard. Yeah, that's true, but I think I have since fixed that.
Okay. So this is an app proto thing, right?
No, this is a bug. This is a bug in Miren. We have a thing called ephemeral deploys that I think. So we have to set up each one of these individually. That's a known bug. So let's just go ahead and set you up one.
Oh, thank you. Also, there is an idea of a route. What does that even mean in Miren?
Yeah. What email address would you like me to put here? Knowledge what's going on the stream.
Chad@chadfowler.com. It's pretty easy to find that one anyway.
A route. So yeah. So when you set up your app, the app's running. It's listening. It's got ports. It's ready for actual data, but we have an ingress. We have an HTTP ingress. And so what we ask you to do is say, how do you want to bind inbound requests to the backends? And those are routes. It's very simple right now. It's basically you just binding a host name based route, a host name based match to a backend thing. So you could say, in this case, it's going to go and bind chad.pds.evanphx.dev to the app. So it's just a route. It's just a route in that way. We have a bunch of interesting stuff that we're working on in the future that makes those routes more interesting. So for instance, making them not just host space, making them able to have different authentication based off of the path, a whole host of things.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there would be a step where if you're using Miren apart from PDS or whatever, you point your DNS at a Miren thing that then knows that it's handling that domain and that it handles all the routing for you.
Yeah, that's actually how we did this. The pds.evanphx.dev, I had set up the DNS for that earlier as a CNAME into the server, but the server didn't know anything about the DNS. It just allows it to arrive, allows those requests to arrive at it, and if the routes match, it does it. One of the things that it does do is when you do route a route set, it goes out and does the TLS handshake to get a cert from Let's Encrypt at that time. So that way, when the request comes in, the cert's all ready to go, and it sort of just works itself out. So it looks like it worked. So should we open this up in a web browser and see what happens?
Clearly. And by we, of course, I mean you.
Yeah. So over here.
So pds.evanphx.dev, right?
Yeah. So we get this, which is the normal thing that you get on here. Now we set up your handle, and I don't remember. I don't remember if this, I don't think this is actually going to return anything different, because that's the whole point, is we're not setting up a web app here. We're setting up something that is active over on Bluesky itself. And so if we go over,
and by the way, this thing that looks like a terminal output is actually a web browser.
Yeah, this is just that's exactly right. This is someone used Figlet. Shout out Figlet for OGs in the house.
Imagine you were the person who created Figlet. What a nice way to introduce yourself at events.
Yeah, well, it's not Blue Sky, not bluesky.com.
It's B-Sky.
Oh, it's B-Sky. I had a little brain fart.
There are worse URLs to mistype.
Okay, so let's just log in as me to start off with.
Are you showing us something, or should I be?
Oh, it didn't switch. Yeah, hold on a second. Let me yeah, you can turn that off. So
we're at 25 minutes and 30 seconds, but we have already set it up. We're just proving it works now, right?
Yeah. So I think what we can do is I'm gonna go while the screen is not being shown. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna log into that account. So I'm gonna go where do I log out now? Sign out. There we go.
You're doing this on B-Sky?
Yep. So let's see here. Let's see if this works. I'm going to go here if you want to share that. So we should be able to sign in. Yeah, that's logged out, no problem. But over here, we should be able to say hosting provider. Yep, great. Manual. And if you do it with the @ it'll sort of figure itself out. I'm just doing this to show people. The server in this case is pds.fmphx.dev. Okay. And your name on there was Chad. And there's a huge password. Yeah, it didn't work. Let's see here. Oh, that's the wrong password. Chad password is the one I want. Great. Much shorter. Should we add our birth dates? Let's say, yeah, you seem like a Gen Z kind of guy.
Very, yeah.
All right, there we go. So now we're logged in to this account, right? And all the data is now, we're logged into it on bsky.app, but all the data, if we go post something here, so like, say hi to, and nope. I don't love that. That's a weird behavior that
we cannot blame Miren for that one.
No. All right, so we can go do that.
There is a certain company whose keyboards are getting weirder and weirder over time.
They are getting weirder and weirder. I mean, like, I'm not one to talk as a Dvorak typist, but so if we go over to our account now, over here, we have this great this singular post that says this. And Chad, would you go find this one and fave it for me over on your account now?
Oh, I have done so already.
Oh, you have done so
just now as you said it. So
okay, so let's reload that. And there we go. We got one little fave guy. Oh, wait, we got a post from Chad himself. And so now, having set this up, we now have this sort of stable home for all of our data that is over on the server that's running inside Miren, this pds.phx.dev. And so if I'm posting images, if I'm posting whatever, they're automatically going to there. And so it's safe. It's in my house for data wise for me to go.
You own it. It doesn't mean that it's private. It means that
no, exactly. It just means it's private, right? Yeah. Like, and actually, I suspect you can have private PDS accounts in terms of people can't see them unless you allow them to see them. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't done that, but you can see here, and maybe, let's throw it out here to the stream. Anybody out there on the stream who wants to see? We got another like. Look at that. We got another like from somebody. Let's see. Somebody did it without me even asking. Oh, wonderful, Kelly Jean. Perfect. So. Yeah, so just like that, we kind of didn't do anything. Like, most of our fumbling here was basically me having not a pristine setup environment, and Claude getting confused by the fact that I've done this before. But other than that, it really figured out all the rest of it. It even set up it. You can see in the blog post me fumbling through a section of it. Claude didn't obviously had to fumble through. It was like, oh, I'll just run all these commands in the right order for the right reason. So.
Yeah, and even given the fumbling, I think it took about 10 minutes to set it up, actually.
Yeah. I mean, we talked through most of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm building stuff. I talked about why I'm interested in app protocol.
Yeah. Do you want to show a little bit about it now? We've got time.
I don't need to show it, but I just wanted to mention that, like, one of the sort of pains of building stuff that uses app protocol as identity is you do need to create a bunch of accounts sometimes, and you have helped me. So I'm creating this thing called Freak, which is what you wanted to have me show. I guess you could load the web page if you want to, if you have that, if you want to put it on this screen, freak.at. Yes, there you are. It's a fun reboot of IRC that adds decentralized identity, which comes from app protocol, and it also adds a bunch of other amazing stuff, and I challenge you to go discover all of the ways that it's amazing.
Yes.
But a lot of things I'm doing, like I've added video calls and screen sharing on top of IRC as an extension.
Yeah.
And when I want to test these things, it would be nice if I had thousands of DIDs that I could use.
Yeah.
And now I can have them. DIDs being decentralized identifiers, which are the underlying identity primitive on app protocol and other things. It's an open standard. Please do look up DIDs if you're a technical person and you have not learned about this yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could create a whole bunch of handles and DIDs. And then I could run my tests against the thing that doesn't make a mess for everybody else. I don't want to create a bunch of accounts on Bluesky, for my.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest maybe set up a server with underneath zoo.freak.at, right? And then you just create a bunch of accounts and have fun with. Because again, in this particular case, we didn't buy anything. We're out nothing except for our time, which is the classic open source element here, right? You could set up all the accounts and not have to worry about making a mess on anybody else's server either. So,
right, cool. Well, and by the way, I'm using Miren to manage Freak, and Freak is many services that interact with each other.
Yeah,
so it's not just some vibe-coded slop web app, which isn't me saying Freak is great, but more just demonstrating the fact that we can deploy like complicated
absolutely.
Just like you and I have done for decades because we're old on real environments where money.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, Miren Cloud, which is our actual, like we ran into it earlier when we were adding stuff to it, our coordination service. It runs on a Miren server. It's got different services. It's got Postgres and Redis and background queues and all kinds of different stuff. And yeah, it all works fine.
So one question there, Miren Cloud.
Yeah.
We talked about Miren being a control plane that can manage your servers, where you have them wherever you want, whether they're in your basement or could be my Mac Studio, or everyone's Mac Minis that they stupidly bought for OpenClaw.
That's right. Absolutely. Oh, that's a great use for those Mac Minis. Yeah,
it really is, because they're not being used for anything right now. So those Mac Minis can be run there, but then you have this cloud thing, presumably because some people don't want to have their own server, or at least when they're getting started, they want to have something that already exists.
Well, we don't yet have the ability just to boot a cluster from inside Miren Cloud. That's coming. That's one of the things that we're working on. But one of the things that we built Miren Cloud specifically for, and you can see here's our Chad PDS cluster. Nice. One of the things that we built it explicitly for is the idea that if let's say you do the Mac Mini route, right? I've got a Mac Mini, it's sitting on my desk, and I'm deploying to it, and I decide, you know what, I really want you, Chad, to help me with this thing. How do I give you access to it? Right? Like, how do I make sure that it's you who's doing it? And I've done this with other systems. Lots of times you basically get like a big credential blob and I have to hand it to you and you have to either remember it or it doesn't identify you. And we're all authenticated with the same sort of credential into the same server. And so that becomes a really big impediment for self-hosting. We wanted to immediately know that people could clear that hurdle out of the gate. We didn't want them to get stuck trying to figure out what do I do here? And that's really the core reason that Miren Cloud existed, is the ability to find out what clusters you have, right? So if I go and add you into this organization, my Evan PHX organization, you could see all the clusters. You could find them out. And then you could just run cluster add. It would go look for the information here and pull it down locally. So now additionally there's access control, which by default is just open to anybody who is inside the organization. But you can actually even lock this down, so you can be like, oh, Chad can only access clusters that start with the word Chad. Like you could go in and craft a rule to look like that. People haven't gotten into that yet, but the basics, the bolts are there, the scaffolding is there to do all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is done. Now I can start telling people that they should set up their accounts on chad.pds.kevinptext.
I mean, if you like, I'm happy to leave it running.
Or you can press delete right now.
Or you can press delete right now, because that was also the great thing, is that you press delete right now and it's gone, and we go set up. You can go set up somewhere else. It doesn't have to be precious, right? You can set these things up and make them work. In the case of Bluesky, because it's federated data, Bluesky will have some cache of all these things that'll expire, and when the servers get deleted, the cache will never get repopulated, and it's kind of doesn't matter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go set it up for real then.
Yeah.
Anything else we should talk about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we've held everyone's attention for long enough. So I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday out there.
It's Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Thank God it's Wednesday.
Thank God it's Wednesday. That's right. That's right. All right. Bye, everybody.